during his debut race in 1950. Italian drivers hold some strange F1 records. Luigi Fagioli, for example, is the oldest driver to win a GP. Fagioli is 62 years old. One is the French. Italian drivers have not had a amount of spectacular
I do apologise there if some of you didn't hear me. It doesn't look as if my microphone was working. I was talking to myself there for about 5 minutes, but never mind, doesn't matter. We're back now. As I said, it's me, King Kong 1471, filling in. As it said, it's me, King Kong 1471. This evening I'm filling in for Sainty 93. He will be back next week, though, I believe. Of course, if I do go quiet, that's only because I've pushed the Xbox button, and I will be able to hopefully join the new race. We had red flag. We had a red flag due to somebody readying up too early. Of course, if you're all watching and listening, please remember to give yourself at least 3 minutes to get all your setup, etc., sorted for the one-shot quali. There we go, I'm back in. So I believe we had 16 or 17 drivers, so if you are listening, please be sure that it was a red flag scenario due to somebody readying up far too early. Whilst we're waiting for that to go through, I will just check out the Tier 2 standings. Let's have a look. Let's see what's going on in the world of Tier 2. So then, leading the way in the Tier 2 Championship is Salty Stevens for the Aston Martin team. Followed by UFRL Ghosts. So Salty Stevens on 164 points. Ghosts is on 162, which is really, really good. SFR Energy Dan is on 135. UFRL Viva is on 122. Mr. Potwash having a good season in 5th place on 118 points. Hybrid on 83. Mr. Wiggles in the Red Bull on 77. OG Klusa from the Williams team is on 74 points. And then Gandalf in 9th place on 70 points. And the Brewdog, I think that is, or something along those lines. I can't quite see it on the mobile. He is on a grand total of 69 points, so very, very close behind Gandalf. As I said, I think there were 16 or 17 drivers. We've currently got 15 in the lobby. Actually, I think that's 14. So I think Mr. Pone will have to go into spectator at some point. So we've currently got 14 in the lobby. So hopefully those other drivers will be joining momentarily and we can get things back underway. And again, whilst we're waiting, I tell you what, we might as well even have a look at the combined constructors. Let's see what's happening in this world then. So the Haas team leading the way with 634 points. Closely followed by the Red Bull on 616 points. Then we have the Ferrari with 585. AlphaTauri with 560. The Williams team with 558, so very, very, very close to the AlphaTauri team. Then we have the McLaren team with 535. The Mercedes team with 524. The Aston Martin team with 502. The Alpine team with 435. And then rounding out the top 10, or the only 10, the Alfa Romeo team with 316. Of course, I used to be an Alfa Romeo driver, so come on Alfa Romeo, you can pick up the pace, pick up the points, and work your way back up the constructors' standings. Still plenty of time, plenty of races for you to achieve this, so come on Alfa Romeos, give it your all. And just while we wait for the final drive, I'm just going to step away momentarily just to grab a quick refreshment. I'll be back with you all shortly. Thank you. And I'm back in the hot seat then. Looks as if we're just about to get things back underway. Here for the Italian Grand Prix for the UFRL racing. Of course it is Tier 2 this evening, so expect to see some really good, strong laps. Of course, so the one-shot quali, though, will be in wet conditions, which will certainly make things very, very interesting indeed. Apologies there, I had to step away just to make sure things were working okay. I'm still not 100% sure some of the bits are working, but hopefully you can all hear me. If not, by all means, please let me know. But I think it should now be working once again. It's been a while since I've stepped back into the hot seat, so you'll have to bear with me. Of course, please do not ready up early. Otherwise, I think the chances are we will just have to go with the setups that people have all got on. Looks as if somebody has readied up, so let's hope that was the go-ahead that was given. And so just had a quick look as well. So Gandalf from the Alfa Romeo team sadly is serving a quali ban. That was why he retired early on in the last stint. So, which is always helpful. Looks as if somebody may have readied up early. Gandalf has now retired from the session, as previously agreed, due to his qualifying ban set out by the stewards. I'll tell you what, we're going to go down. I don't think Salty Stevens, he's not racing this evening, is he? Doesn't look that way. SFR Madge is already off the track. I think I might try and just find somebody to start alongside, and then we'll just go for it. That does look as if people are retiring again. We'll stick them with SFR Energy Dan for the time being in the Haas team. I'm not overly sure if people are just leaving. Can't quite work it out if they're crashing because of the wet conditions or if it is going to be another restart. I'll have to wait and see. We haven't quite had confirmation on this just yet. But we will stick with SFR Energy Dan for the time being. At the moment it looks as if Mr. Wiggles, though, will get the pole position as things stand. So Mr. Wiggles then goes the fastest with a 1:28.346. Unfortunately, I didn't see the rest of them seem to disappear. But anyway, SFR Energy Dan did qualify in 4th place, so well done to him. Still not had confirmation on if it's a red flag or not. Just going to have a quick look once again. Nothing in the race day lounge lobby. So I'm guessing at this moment in time that this is the starting grid. So Mr. Wiggles in pole, Algeria in 2nd, Viva in 3rd, Energy Dan taking 4th, Ilchi Christie in 5th, SFR the Vicar in 6th, Mr. Potwash taking P7, VFS Instinct taking P8, Norwegian Borat P9, and Fedspan rounding out that top 10, and he takes 10th place for the Haas team. It does look as if we're still carrying on the scenario, even though somebody sadly readied up a little bit too early. Of course, mistakes do happen, but just got to try and keep your finger off the A button. It does look as if we've got dry conditions then for the sprint race which will hopefully begin fairly soon. We'll allow a few minutes here to set up tyre pressures, fuel loads, etc. Choosing the tyre of choice. I would imagine that many of them will be starting on the mediums. Some may take a bit of a punt on the softs, but we'll wait and see on that one. And yeah, just confirming then that we are going to get things underway very, very shortly. There is no further red flag. We are going to get the proceedings underway. I mean, thankfully for, of course, a few of the drivers, it is a sprint race, so they can hopefully work their way back through. I'm sure most people had enough time to get most of their setups done, I would have thought. I mean, as somebody said in the chat, as long as you've saved it and then and loaded up, you're pretty much already there. It can only take sort of 20-30 seconds, but I do know and I do understand that people like to tweak around with these bits and pieces. So, of course, you do have to wait for that go-ahead. I don't seem to be getting any comments on the stream, so hopefully if you are writing things on there, I'm not being rude. It's just the case that I can't see any of them. But you never know, of course. People may not want to talk with me. And a message from Prince Arrow then. Hey, currently trying to find a new league to race in. What time zone and days do you guys race on? So hi there, Prince Arrow. Hope you're doing very, very well. So the UFRL League races on quite a number of days. Tier 1, which is for the very, very, very fast drivers, is a Monday, and that is 8 o'clock GMT time, or 8 p.m. GMT time. Then we have Tier 2 on a Tuesday. Again, fast drivers. I think a few of them could certainly certainly race a good race in Tier 1. They race at 8 p.m. GMT time every Tuesday, and then Wednesday is more of a sort of beginners league. I think if you were to go with AI scenarios, you're probably looking at sort of 80 to 85, and then on a Tuesday it's probably 90 to 95, and then on a Monday it is the maximum. Then they do 100% tier on Friday evenings, again 8 p.m. GMT start time, and then they have an international tier, which is on a Saturday, which I believe still kicks off at 10 p.m. GMT time. But of course, if you want any further information, then by all means join the UFRL League. I'm sure somebody will be able to put the link in the chat for you. But it's a very, very good league indeed. So by all means, please come in, have a look, and see what you think. Apologies for going silent. I'm just making sure that everything is still A-OK and that we're still looking like we're going to get going fairly soon for the sprint race. And whilst we're waiting for that, I'll tell you what, let's have a look at tonight's FA Cup games. So as things stand then in the FA Cup replays, we have Wolverhampton Wanderers 1, Brentford 1, Eastleigh 0, Newport 1. Of course, the winner of that will go on to take on Manchester United. So in all honesty, I think we're all hoping, in a way, unless you're a Newport fan over in Wales, for an Eastleigh win. That would be real mega money for them, that's for sure. Birmingham City 0, Hull City 1, an all-championship affair. Bolton Wanderers 1, Luton Town 1. So the League One side of Bolton Wanderers currently holding Luton Town at the moment. But the real shock of the day is Bristol City 1, West Ham United 0. That is the latest score. Still not quite yet at half-time, but looking at the West Ham team that was put out this evening, it is quite a strong team as well. So David Moyes will certainly have no excuses available to him there. Just having a look at the... I thought that Bristol City was still run by Nigel Pearson, but it turns out it's a chap called Liam Manning. I tell you what, it seems to be raining now out on track. I could have sworn it was dry the last time, but never mind. I'm sure it'll be absolutely fine. Perhaps that was wrong in the first place. Who knows? And just had it confirmed in the Discord chat to ready up, so we will be getting underway momentarily. So of course there is no formation lap in the UFRL League due to many glitches from EA, but we are just about to get underway, and here we go. Oh, it's the main Grand Prix. Apologies, I thought it went straight into a sprint race, but it is the main Grand Prix. But it's a real good start then from Mr. Wiggles, who he's dropped down to P2. Gandalf has left the session. He's seemingly struggling a little bit with connection issues, I think. Just going to get in some positional changes here. So Viva then remaining in P3 for the time being. Just want to have a look, see the tyre. The choices then. So most people, amazingly, starting on the soft compound tyre. We've got yellow flags out in Sector 2. I don't think anyone has crashed out though, which is always good. But the field all very close together at the moment, and I'm guessing most people will be going for the soft medium strategy here today. And I tell you what, for me, I personally feel as if you just started on the medium tyre, you'd have got some real good pace out of them softs, and they'd have also lasted longer with the less fuel load as well. So I'm surprised at that. And it is sunny out on track. It was showing rain as we were sitting in the paddock, and one of the McLarens has gone very wide there, Illy Christie, and he's dropped numerous positions there. VFX Instinct nearly went into the pit wall as well. We'll go then back to SFR Mad Dog battling hard with the other McLaren, Mr. Potwash, but he does just about make it around. Mr. Wiggles picking up a 3-second time penalty very early on for corner cutting. He'll be really disappointed with that. That's for sure, and he's already also dropped down to P4. He's not had the best of starts. Yellow flags out in Sector 1. Not quite sure who it involves. I think it might be Gandalf or Fedspan, or possibly Shazam, actually, looking at the Ferrari now dropping down to P18. We'll stick then with Mr. Wiggles and his battle with SFR Energy Dan in the Haas team. Of course, with no Salty Stevens today. There's every chance that another driver can certainly stake his claim for being the number one in Tier 2. And we will stick with Mr. Wiggles for the time being, as he's trying really desperately hard to go down the outside of SFR Energy Dan here. I think he should just about be able to do it. He's got to make sure he leaves enough room, which he does. SFR Energy Dan then drops in behind him. Of course, there is no DRS just yet. It should be fairly soon, though, at the end of the next lap, I believe. And SFR... Oh, no, it has been enabled. but it won't be for the long pit lane straight. But SFR Energy, Dan, clearly having a lot of pace down that straight. Let's go down to P Grit here and his battle with Filthy Ghost. Filthy Ghost not used to being this far down the grid. Let's go back to Viva because he is very, very, very close in his battle with Algeri 07. I think that's how you say it, Algeri. Not 100% sure, but I believe that's how you do it. Let's go further down the grid then. Let's go back to Filthy Ghost and his battle with P. Grit. He should have the DRS available to him. Yes, he does, but of course there's a bit of a DRS train going on up ahead of him. Ilchi Christie, Shazam is out of the Grand Prix. It is a full safety car, ladies and gentlemen. Not overly sure what happened to Shazam, but he is out of today's Grand Prix. Of course, he's the only Ferrari runner today as well, so Ferrari will not be picking up any points today. They are currently running in third in the combined constructors. This will really not help their chances at all this evening. I think Shazam will be kicking himself, unless of course it wasn't his fault. I'm sure we'll soon find out in the Discord chat. So an early safety car then. Will any of these soft runners dive into the pits and maybe go for a two-stop strategy? 5-second penalty for Gandalf speeding in the pit lane, but at least he is back in the race anyway. He was having quite a bit of internet connection difficulties, so at least he is back in the race. So let's have a look whilst we're waiting then at positional changes off the start. So Algeri goes up one position, as does Viva. Mr. Wiggles drops down 3 positions and also picks up a 3-second time penalty as well. Norwegian Borat and Gandalf and Fedspan all diving into the pits. We'll see what tyres they come out on momentarily. I wouldn't be surprised if it was the mediums and going for a two-stopper, but who knows, they may be able to run a set of hards from now until the very end, especially with the safety car out at the moment. So back to positional changes. SFR the Vicar. I wonder if he's friends with SFR Energy Dan, or I assume he probably is. Is up one position. Another SFR Madge, jumping up 5 positions. That's a really good start from him. Mr. Potwash remaining in the same position. Elichi Christie drops by 3 positions and also has somebody running into the back of him there. I believe it was VFX Instinct, who certainly also picks up front wing damage there as well. That will do his race some real harm. P. Grit has jumped up 4 positions, so a good start from him. Filthy Ghost has already jumped up 6 positions, and I wouldn't rule him out of actually winning this Grand Prix. He's a really good, strong driver, and he's a driver that could certainly be in Monday night's league as well. He's a real rapid driver. Hybrid, currently running in 12th, has jumped up 1 position. I usually call him the qualifying king. Usually absolutely brilliant through qualifying. Seems to struggle a little bit throughout the race sometimes, but there is rain out on track. It's a 5-second penalty again for Gandalf for speeding in the pit lane. I wonder if there's a bit of an error on his game there. Angry Badger not jumping up anywhere at all. Norwegian Borat down 4. VFX Instinct down 6. Gandalf remaining the same and just serving that penalty. And Fedspan also diving into the pits, but he's also down 6 positions. Most drivers now starting to put on those intermediate tyres from the looks of things. It looks as if Fedspan was also serving a 5-second penalty as well. So Gandalf and Fedspan both putting on intermediates. I wonder if that was really the right decision. I think it probably was, especially with this rain starting to come down here in Monza. So as things stand, the front runners, Algeri and Viva, all still on the soft compound tyre. We're still under safety car conditions here. I don't think it'll be back in this lap. I think the rear runners of Fedspan and Gandalf are slightly too far behind. And of course the front runners will certainly be hoping they don't catch up, because there is a lot of spray coming up off that track now. I tell you what, I'd be really, really surprised if the rest of the grid now doesn't take the opportunity to pit. And Fedspan has retired from the Grand Prix. I presume then he must have crashed out under the safety car. He'll be absolutely kicking himself for that. There was nobody around him either. Many cars diving into the pits. Algerie does not dive into the pits. That is a real shock from the Alpine driver. P. Grit also doesn't dive into the pits. And I tell you what, Gandalf has come out really well from this. He's now up to P3. So well done to him. The only trouble for him is he does have a 5-second penalty against his name. That's the only issue. I assume he's in the car. Yes, he is, which is great news for the only running Alfa Romeo this evening. So we're 6 laps into this Grand Prix, and I tell you what, a lot has already happened. We've already lost 2 drivers, Shazam, who initially caused the safety car, and then we lost Fedspan under the safety car conditions. And we went from beautiful sunshine to a real heavy downpour in a matter of two or so laps. And Gandalf certainly made the most of that and is already now back up, well, already up to P3. He started the race from the very back of the grid after serving a qualifying ban. The qualifying ban hasn't affected him at all, given the racing scenario here. In theory, in my eyes as well, he's actually realistically leading the Grand Prix. I appreciate he has got the 5 seconds worth of penalties, but of course the top 2 runners, Algerie and P. Grit, I don't know how they're doing it, but they're not going to last too long, are still on their soft tyres. Very surprising. I presume then that is why a lot of the drivers started on softs, knowing full well that at one stage they're going to have to change onto the intermediate compound. I'm really shocked that the top 2 didn't pit. Really surprised me as Algerie starts to back up the rest of the grid. The 2 SFRs swapping positions under safety cars, but rightfully giving them back. I wonder if the top 2 are going to dive into the pits now, but they will 100% come out last, but it will be sort of damage limitation in a way. No, they've decided to stay out on track. I think they're going to be absolute sitting ducks. I think that was a real disastrous decision from the top 2. It is absolutely soaking out there as Viva look to already make an initial attack on Gandalf. We've got a lot of drivers piling into turn 1. It is absolute carnage through sector 1. Mr. Wiggles has dramatically moved himself back up into P2. Gandalf has dropped already down to P5. He will be absolutely kicking himself with that turn 1. SFR Energy down though all over the back of Mr. Wiggles. Somehow Algerie is still leading this Grand Prix. P. Grit has already dropped down to P13. Algerie was off track there. He's lost the position. Why on earth did he not pit? It would have been damage limitation even at the end of the safety car. You pit, you hope and pray that somebody has an issue at turn 1. But now you're just falling down the grid. A real shocking decision there from Algerie. But SFR Energy Dan is now the new race leader. We've already seen quite a few race leaders this evening. SFR Energy Dan, the latest of those. Let's go a little bit further down the grid then. We'll go to the Norwegian Borat, who's just about to overtake Algerie, who I'm sure would just move out the way. He doesn't stand a chance on those softs. P. Grit has already dropped down to last now, P15. We've got just 15 drivers left remaining. We've got yellow flags out in sector 3. Nothing too major from the looks of things. Gandalf diving into the pit, picks up another 5-second penalty. We're right on board with the Norwegian Borat, who is absolutely flying here. It's a double overtake on both Filthy Ghost and VFX Instinct. Absolutely fantastic from the AlphaTauri driver. And then has a really good turn into turn 1. Really good driving from the AlphaTauri. The AlphaTauri team looking really strong this evening, running in P3 and P6. Viva then right behind Mr. Wiggles, and not too sure who went into the back of him there. I think he just about managed to avoid him. Mr. Wiggles looks really quick this evening. Seems to be really enjoying these wet conditions. Let's go down to the Norwegian Borat once again. Filthy Ghost has managed to reclaim P6 from Norwegian Borat. It doesn't overly surprise me, the power and the pace of that Red Bull driver. Filthy Ghost is phenomenal, certainly one of the quickest in Tier 2, that's for sure. And he seems to have a really strong teammate as well, Mr. Wiggles, who's getting closer and closer to SFR Energy Dan. But I do think SFR Energy Dan from previous seems to have a faster straight line speed. I'm guessing, yeah, I tell you what, I think he does. I think he's a hell of a lot quicker down that straight than Mr. Wiggles. Mr. Wiggles didn't stand a hope in hell of getting past him there, but he might get past him here into turn 1. It was really deep from SFR Energy Dan, and I don't think he's going to be able to defend too hard here. He's still got the inside line though. Up until the next corner though, I think he's going to yield. He gives the space to Mr. Wiggles, and Mr. Wiggles takes P1 but then dives straight across the track. That is certainly going to be, I tell you what, I'm really surprised that wasn't a penalty. But he did give the position back to SFR Energy Dan anyway. There's some real good sportsmanship from the Red Bull driver, and SFR Energy Dan retakes the lead of the Grand Prix. This is probably the most intriguing battle out there at the moment. Mr. Wiggles, Viva and SFR Energy Dan leading the way so far. We're already 9 laps through. Seems like a really quick Grand Prix. 27 laps, it does seem quite short for this one. I don't know why. It just does. I suppose usually it would be sort of 1 minute 20 around that sort of time. It is going to be a little bit longer due to the wet conditions, but I do think it's going to be one of the shortest Grand Prix on the calendar. So Viva then all over the back of Mr. Wiggles. I'd say Mr. Wiggles' straight line speed looks awful compared to the rest of them. Guessing he's got a lot better through cornering, but I'll tell you what, you do need that straight line speed on this track, that's for sure. I think there may have been an error in his setup. I appreciate it's raining, but as proven so far, that straight line speed is absolutely vital here in Monza. We have yellow flags out in Sector 1. Looks as if one of the Mercedes, I think it is, I suspect it might be Instinct. Yeah, I think it was Instinct, I think, came off the track, but has managed to get himself back on. He still remains in P10. He'll be reasonably pleased, I think, so far, VFX Instinct. The only Mercedes runner this evening, I believe. Yeah, the only Mercedes runner. Quite a few gaps starting to form. This is the closest battle. Mr. Wiggles and Viva. SFR Energy Dan almost a second clear of Viva. Of course, there is no DRS due to the torrential weather here in Monza. And Mr. Wiggles has lost control and has spun. Thankfully, he hasn't hit the wall. He's come back out onto the track. He couldn't really do too much else there. Thankfully, the game allowed ghosting and allow many of the cars to just plain and simply pass on through. And SFR managed now then up to third place. Viva really close behind SFR Energy Dan now. Somehow managed to catch him quite rapidly. I'm presuming SFR Energy Dan had a bit of a poor first turn through Sector 1. It's the only place I can think where he's lost some time here. And as I was speaking, the Norwegian Borat picks up 3 seconds worth of penalties there as well. That will certainly affect his race at the end. Let's go down to Mr. Wiggles, who's trying to work his way back through the field again. He's He's got some good, tough drivers in front of him, especially Filthy Ghost and Norwegian Borat. They've both raced incredibly well so far. Well, it'd be interesting to see how far, how many positions. Yeah, Filthy Ghost has gone up by 12 positions. That is an absolute phenomenal drive, and certainly at the moment will be in contention for driver of the day. Mr. Wiggles then all over the back of Norwegian Borat now, going down the straight just before the pit lane straight. And again, it's that straight line speed that really does seem to be having an effect on Mr. Wiggles. Doesn't seem to be able to get enough traction, enough speed. Although this time round, he certainly does. Mr. Wiggles overtakes the Norwegian Borat in the AlphaTauri and works his way up to P6. Although, having said that, Norwegian Borat's fighting back here and reclaims the position, but does dive in quite far. Let's hope he doesn't make contact here with Mr. Wiggles. He may have to yield that position there. I don't think he really warranted gaining the position there from Mr. Wiggles. It did seem a bit of a dive bomb from the AlphaTauri. Maybe looked at by the stewards. I tell you what, it is so close between three of them. Illy Christie diving in here. Oh, that is atrocious from the McLaren driver. Norwegian Borat, I think, rightfully almost putting him back out the way. Yeah, it was pretty poor from the McLaren driver there. I don't think Borat and Mr. Wiggles will be overly happy with that overtaking attempt from him. Norwegian Borat running very, very wide there. Mr. Wiggles now able to gain enough traction and speed. This time he'll be hoping that he manages to keep the position. We have a full safety car. It is a full safety car. We have a lost hybrid. Again, not sure what's happened there. Oh, Mr. Wiggles almost running into the back of the McLaren there. Just about manages to avoid him. It was actually very, very fast thinking from the Red Bull driver to avoid Mr. Potwash, who I assume had to rapidly slow down for the... I can't think of what it's blooming called now. The Delta, that's the one. Yeah, the Delta. And yeah, so sadly we have just lost hybrid. As I said, he's certainly one of my favourite cars to watch, especially through qualifying. I think he's absolutely brilliant. But we have just sadly lost hybrid. Hopefully it wasn't anything malicious from another driver. I hope it was just a general mistake. So VFX Instinct pick up a 5-second penalty for speeding in the pit lane. We seem to be getting quite a few of them now. Filthy Ghost, Mr. Potwash, Borat, Illy Christie, VFX Instinct, Algerie all pitting now. I wonder, and yeah, a lot of them going on to the full wet compound. Energy Dan, the top 5 deciding to stay out on the inters. Now I tend to, you know what, looking at that track, the amount of spray that's coming off, the amount of cars that were unable to almost stop out on track, I think the wet tyres could be the right decision. I tell you what, at this moment in time, I think this gentleman here, Filthy Ghost, has a really good chance of going from almost virtually the back end of the grid to potentially even going on to win the Grand Prix. 14 laps he should be able to quite comfortably do on the wet compound tyre. And of course, if it does dry up at any time, then the race may be back underway. And it's another it's a 5-second penalty for corner cutting. For Gandalf, that must have been a real major corner cutting scenario there for the Alfa Romeo driver. Does seem to be struggling a little bit this evening, Gandalf, which is unlike him. He's my former teammate, and he was absolutely brilliant when I was there, so it's a real shame to see him down the grid at the moment and seemingly struggling this evening. Just having a look, Angry Badger has dived into the pits for the Aston Martin and will also be retrieving the wet tyre. Viva and SFR Madge then, during that safety car, decided that they would go again for the intermediate compound. I think it's starting to look too wet, but of course the drivers will certainly know more than I do. And Illy Christie Pick up a 5-second penalty for corner cutting then. Again, what on earth is going on here with these corner cutting? I'm not overly sure what the drivers expect to get out of it. But I'd like to know who your favourite is now to go on and win the Tier 2 Grand Prix. I think it's most likely going to be this gentleman now, Filthy Ghost. I was about to say 50 Ghost. Of course, that's a 50 Gent who races on Wednesdays. But yeah, Filthy Ghost I think is the driver I would now expect to go on and win this Grand Prix. But of course, I'd like to know who else, who you guys think watching at home, who you think will go on and win the Grand Prix. Seen any indication that the safety car will be back in this lap. And I think from the fact that SFR Energy Dan is so close to the safety car, I think that would mean that it probably isn't going to be in this lap. No. The safety car remains out on track for at least one more lap. So we're going to have at least 11 laps worth of racing. SFR Energy Dan running on 9-lap-old intermediates, as is Mr. Wiggles. Viva and SFR Madge running on 2-lap-old mediums. Filthy Ghost and Mr. Potwash on 2-lap-old wets. Norwegian Borat on 2-lap-old inters. Illy Christie and VFX Instinct on 2-lap-old wets. Angry Badger on 1-lap-old wets. SFR the Vicar on 7-lap-old inters. Gandalf on 2-lap-old inters. Algerie on fresh inters then, so he decides that inters is still the way to go. Interesting. P.Grip on 2-lap-old inters. Maybe I'm wrong, perhaps it is still intermediate weather. I can't see it being intermediate weather. I think the weather looks absolutely atrocious. Almost looks as if Monza and Italy are having a bit of a monsoon out there. Certainly myself wouldn't want to be driving out there this evening. But I suppose if it is going to be a wet race, Monza isn't a bad choice for it. Not too many slow corners. And race control just confirming that the safety car is back in this lap, so we will momentarily get back underway and racing hard. SFR Energy Dan starting to back up the rest of the grid, wisely so, allowing that safety car to get clear, so as soon as he hits that main straight he can put pedal to the metal and hopefully for him drive off into the distance. What will really be interesting is to see how the wets do in comparison to the inters. And looks as if we're going to be back underway right now. So SFR Energy Dan leading the way, but Viva is very, very close behind Mr. Wiggles. He should be able to get him down the pit lane straight here. He's certainly got the inside line going into turn 1. And certainly seems to have a pretty decent amount of grip as well. Although Filthy Ghost has already managed to manoeuvre his way up to P3. Some really good driving there, I think. Well, I think anyway, although having said that, Mr. Wiggles is now down to P4, so whether or not something happened between the pair of them there, I'm not overly sure. The only trouble in the wet conditions, this camera doesn't really show the clearest of racing. Let's then go down to Algerie, who's battling hard and certainly... Oh, and there's definitely a coming together there. I wouldn't put the blame on Algerie there. But Mr. Potwash has retired from the session. It is a VSC. It's not a full safety car, but it is a virtual safety car. You can certainly see why. P-Grit, I think, has also just gone as well. So we are now down to the last remaining 12 drivers. So certainly some really good points up for grabs today, given the fact we have now lost 5 drivers from the Grand Prix. So Filthy Ghost, I tell you what, I do wonder if these wets were the way to go. Viva is now leading the Grand Prix, so he's managed to work his way round SFR Energy Dan, who is on, oh, it is a full safety car now, ladies and gentlemen. We have another full safety car here. Now, I did this the other day. I will actually go back onto... I'll tell you what, actually, no, first of all, just while the safety car is back out on track, let's quickly run you through the current score lines in the FA Cup replays. So it's Wolverhampton Wanderers 2, Brentford 2, Eastleigh 1, Newport County 1. So Eastleigh have just equalised, which is really good news for them. They'll be really desperately hoping that they get through this tie today, just so they can play against Manchester United. Then it is Birmingham City 0, Hull City 1 in an all-championship clash. It is still Bolton 1, Luton Town 1. In that replay, I believe it was 1-1 in the last game as well. And the current shock of the day so far sees Bristol City 1-0 up against West Ham. And I can now just confirm that Saeed Benrahma has been sent off for the Hammers. That was on 51 minutes. There's 57 minutes played there. It does look as if West Ham are going to have a real mountain to climb now, if they're going to make it through to the next round of the FA Cup. As I said, as we have a safety car out, I'll see if I can get us some safety car facts. Let's see what I can find here. Yeah, don't worry if I'm going quiet, I'm just Googling to see what I can actually find on safety cars. I'm pretty sure I can find something. If I can get rid of all these adverts that are absolutely terrible. And in the meantime, let's have a look then. So, Filthy Ghost then deciding that Inters is the way forward and dives into the pits then for Inters. That is a real shock. It is absolutely lashing it down there. How on earth can Inters be the correct tyre choice here? That is absolutely amazing. But he has decided that Inters is the way to go. That is really, really incredible. It is absolutely bucketing down there. Crazy. So, a couple of safety car facts then for you, just while the safety car is out on track. So, the safety car made its first appearance at the 1973 Canadian Grand Prix as a result of several incidents caused by harsh weather conditions. To control the chaos, a slick Porsche 914 was deployed out on track, driven by former Canadian racing driver Epi Wietzes. I think that's how you say it anyway. However, things did not run too smoothly as the safety car picked up the wrong lead driver, causing most of the field to end up a lap down. This meant it took several hours to figure out who actually won the race before Peter Revson was later confirmed as the winner. The safety car was also used in 1976 Monaco Grand Prix after a 5-year absence. I tell you what they could do with having a 5-year absence of VAR in football as well. It returned at the same stage at the 1981 Monaco Grand Prix. The last time it was seen on the same Monte Carlo streets in 1976 was in the form of another Porsche 911, but on this occasion it was the daring Lamborghini Countach. Have I ever heard of a Lamborghini Countach before? The Countach then made a couple more cameo appearances at both the 1982 and 1983 Monaco Grand Prix, before the safety car would go into hiding for another decade. Wow, so back in the early stages of Formula One, safety cars were not used that regularly. It seems in the current format of the Formula 1. It seems to be used almost every single race, but we are now back underway, thankfully. SFR Energy Dan losing a position to SFR Madge then, although seemingly giving the position back. I'm guessing there may have been a bit of an issue with the restart. Algery then back up to P3. He's been first, last, now back to P3. He's had a bit of a mind-boggling race. So Mr. Wiggles then down in P5. He's not too far behind SFR Madge. It looks as if Filthy Ghost has already started to work his way back up the grid. He's just overtaken Norwegian Borat. And Illy Christie then picks up a 3-second time penalty for cutting the corner there. He dramatically cut that corner there, and the McLaren driver. But never mind. I'm sure it was a good an accident. And so Filthy Ghost then right behind Norwegian Borat. What on earth has happened there? That was bizarre. His car almost just seemed to just fly into the wall. In the meantime, he also took Angry Badger with him. It is another full safety car here. Now I can say, you know what, from Norwegian Borat's car, the way it sort of just flung itself into the wall, it looked as if Filthy Ghost should have gone into the back of him. I can confirm that that did not happen. So Filthy Ghost was not at fault there. That was just bizarre. I can't quite work out what happened there. Unless he just put his foot down too heavily on no traction and just went into the wall. Who knows? Thank you for joining us this evening. D Sommers 90. Pronounced Countach. Countach? Is that how you say it? Pass. Not 100% sure. So the soft tyre then now being thrown on to SFR Energy Dan and SFR Madge. I mean, am I seeing something completely different on my screen? Because it looks as if it's still absolutely pouring it down there. Well, yeah, I think it's too early to throw in those softs. It's still raining. I think that is a huge gamble to throw on softs. I can't see that paying off. We've still got 7 laps left to go, and it is still raining. It's not as if it stopped. If it had stopped raining, I would say, yeah, absolutely, go for it. But I think that's absolute madness. Yes, a VFX Instinct is now also going on the softs. Maybe the engineers have heard something. Maybe the race engineers have heard something. I'm not 100% sure. And D Summers 90 saying Norwegian Borat's dog jumped on the wheel by the way he veered off. Yeah, I tell you what, it certainly did look as if something like that happened. You know, sometimes you can look at these things and think, well, that driver's done it out of frustration, but you know, just watching that, there was no sign of that. It was just a real sudden yank and a veer into the wall. Bizarre, really, really bizarre, but never mind. Never mind. I'm sure he'll have a better race next time round. I wonder if anyone else now will dive into the pits. Yeah, tell you what, Mr. Wiggles diving into the pits. Filthy Ghost, Gandalf all deciding to stay out, as is Algery and your current race leader, UFRL F1 Viva. Mr. Wiggles now going on to the soft compound tyre as well. I tell you what, the race engineer must have told them something different to what I'm really seeing on the screen. It's still raining. I can't quite work it out, but something must have been said, you know, something must be happening. There must be a clear patch of sky coming through at some stage. So as you can now see, the front 4 runners all on the intermediate tyres, which I think is still, it's got to be the right tyre still, isn't it? Surely. Surely. I mean, DRS hasn't been reactivated. it's still raining. I'm just watching Mr. Wiggles here. He really does seem to be struggling. I cannot see the reason for applying the soft tyres, but as I said, who knows? I could be completely wrong. And Angry Badger, thanks for joining us this evening, mate. And yeah, you were actually doing pretty well on that side of things. But yeah, as I was just saying in the chat a minute ago, it didn't look as if it was intentional from Norwegian Borat. It just looked... I just wonder maybe if his wheel disconnected or something like that. That's what it looked like to me. Yeah, it was really was bizarre. I just about managed to catch it on the stream, and yeah, it was just weird. I wonder if the safety car still remaining out on track. I wonder if we do have any more. I'll tell you what, whilst we're waiting for the safety car to go back round again, let's quickly run you through the latest in the FA Cup replays. I can confirm that is the third round replays. Wolves 2, Brentford 2, that game at the moment heading into added time, much to the Brentford manager's Thomas Frank's dismay. Eastleigh 1, Newport County 2, now the Welsh side have retaken the lead. Birmingham City 1, Hull City 1. Of course, Birmingham City now no longer managed by Wayne Rooney. Jay Stansfield has just equalised for them. Bolton 1, Luton 2. So at the moment the Premier League side will be going through. But of course still the biggest shock on the cup ties at the moment is Bristol City 1, West Ham 0. And of course West Ham are down to 10 men. Saeed Benrahma seeing his marching orders on the 51st minute. It looks like there has been quite a number of cards through that game as well, so it must be quite a feisty game down at the Ashton Gate Stadium. Yeah, an angry manager just saying nothing I could do to get out of it. No, absolutely not. We were very, very, very unfortunate there. Angry Badger, I don't know if you can bring us up to date with anything that any of the engineers may have said beforehand, whether or not there was some dry weather en route. I mean, I don't know if I'm seeing exactly the same as the rest of you, but it's still raining on my screen, and over half the drivers are now on the soft compound tyre. The top 4 runners on the Inters. Really good to see Gandalf up there in P3. Real top guy and a good teammate as well, especially after I ruined one of his races. I think it was in France where I absolutely destroyed him out on track, so apologies for that, Gandalf. But yeah, glad to see that he is up there and doing really, really well once again. Yeah, the safety car, race control has confirmed that the safety car is back in on this lap. I'm going to ride on board then with Filthy Ghost, who tends to get a really good start following the safety car. I wonder if he can get round Gandalf at early doors here, but it will also be really interesting to see how those soft tyre runners do. I can't see it working out for them, to be honest. There's still spray coming up from the track, for goodness sake. But Filthy Ghost does manage to get round Gandalf and successfully navigates his way round turn 1. I'll tell you what on earth are all these guys doing? This is horrendous. Look, they're like... I tell you, it's like watching Bambi on ice. It really is. It's like watching Bambi on ice, some of these soft tyre runners. It's crazy, real crazy. And Angry Badger just saying, I didn't hear anything. The last message was to stay on the wet tyres, which already, as you can see from these times, is 100% the right decision. Gandalf already over 6 seconds clear from SFR Madge from 4th to 5th. I think it was just absolutely ludicrous. Real strange decision from these drivers. To do that, to jump on the softs. It's clearly not going. Oh, actually, having said that, now looking out on the track, it has stopped raining. I think there's going to be too much of a gap formed. There's still spray coming out off the track, but I think it's going to need at least 3 or so laps before you're going to see any real changes. But just while we're doing this, we're running on board then with Algerie. Algerie looks as if he might just about be able to overtake Viva here. Viva defending really, really well, so well done to him there. Really good bit of defending. Gandalf then. Oh, he must have come off track somewhere. He's dropped down to P8. That's really gutting for him. To me, it looked as if he had P4 in the bag as well. But as I said, it has stopped raining, but these cars are still struggling to get round, and there's a 12-second gap from 4th to 3rd. Algerie battling hard with Viva. I think this has got to be the battle that we're going to have to remain with for the remainder of this Grand Prix. I wonder if Filthy Ghost can bring himself back into contention. I'm sure he probably can. I wonder if many of these drivers will be manoeuvring off the racing line to keep those tyres cool, especially when it doesn't look as if it's raining anymore. Algerie trying to go down the inside here of Viva. There is contact between the pair of them, which then allows Filthy Ghost to sweep on through. Magnificent driving from the Red Bull. That is absolutely breathtaking stuff from Filthy Ghost, making the most of the error, I think mainly from Algerie there, who also then overtakes Viva. Viva loses 2 positions there. He'll be really, really frustrated. Wow, DRS has just been enabled. Those soft runners have got 2 laps left to make some form of real impact here. Those intermediates are going to start to overheat. Illy Christie is out of the Grand Prix. We're down to just the 9 drivers. And we have now lost both McLarens this race. There'll be no points picked up for the McLarens. Viva all over the back of Algerie, but not able to make any inroads in his attack there. I think the top 3 will be safe. I can't see SFR Madge gaining 11.5 seconds in the next 2 laps. I think that would be a real incredible feat if he can do that. Still looks a little bit slippy out there. He's just clipped the sides there. There is 0.8 difference between Filthy Ghost and Algerie. Algerie desperately trying to keep in the DRS range with that DRS now available to him. It does look as if their tyres are starting to overheat as well now. Madge has dropped that gap down to 10 seconds. He is flying. Absolutely flying. But he's going to have to virtually make 5 seconds per lap and still make an overtaking manoeuvre on Viva if he's going to get P3 here. It's going to be one heck of a push if he does do that. I don't think there's enough time. It would be interesting if he could do that. Viva then very, very close behind Algerie then. That may really help her. Help Madge if the top 3 are still battling hard. But I tell you what, he's not really made any real inroads since I last went to him. I don't think he's going to have enough. I think the only way he's going to get top 3 is via mistake from the top 3. I can't see that really being the case, although having said that, Algerie is really close now behind Filthy Ghost, who seems to be struggling now on those inters. DRS is available to the Alpine driver. He wasn't close enough to potentially make the move, but he should. He's certainly come out of the chicane a lot quicker than Filthy Ghost here. He might be able to take him here. He's going to have the outside line going into the pit lane straight. Filthy Ghost trying to push him a little bit wide there. Algerie certainly gets a much better exit, and Algerie takes P1 from Filthy Ghost. But then Filthy Ghost, oh my goodness, how fast is he going without DRS available to him as well? That is absolutely incredible. Algerie had DRS available to him. Oh, he has been forced a little bit wide there. But trying to fit 2 cars around that first chicane is almost impossible. Filthy Ghost has dropped down to 3rd place then. Viva making the most of it now. Can he maybe mount one last attempt to win the Italian Grand Prix. He's within DRS range of Algerie. It's now or never for the AlphaTauri driver. Although I think Algerie is just starting to pull away. He's still going to be within DRS range. He's going to have the DRS available to him, but I think he's going to be too far back. I think this race is done and dusted for Algerie. SFR Madge has dropped the gap down to just 3.5 seconds. He's done pretty well there, actually, in all fairness to SFR Madge. I still don't think it was the right call, as shown by the top 3 drivers. Oh, we have just lost VFX Instinct, and SFR the Vickers also picked up a 3-second time penalty. We are now down to just 8 drivers. Yellow flags out in Sector 2. Viva seemingly almost slowing down and allowing Filthy Ghost to go through there, which was bizarre. Perhaps there was something to that. I'm not overly sure. Maybe Viva had run out of fuel. Who knows? But then your race winner this evening is Algerie. He takes P1. It was a magnificent drive from him. He was right down the back end for a period, following a safety car, and then managed to manoeuvre his way back up and take the Grand Prix win. So well done to the Alpine driver. I think my driver of the day is exactly the same as the games. Filthy Ghost had an absolute magnificent race this evening. He started near enough last place, and then manages to take a magnificent P2. And then Viva rounds out the podium, takes P3 with another magnificent drive as well for him. And in just a moment we will round out the remainder of the grid. But those top 3 there can be really proud of their drive today. It was a really awkward race. We had no rain at the beginning, then we had intermediate weather, then almost wet weather, then back onto inters, and then it went back to dry. It was a really tough race, but the drivers did absolutely brilliantly. So then Algerie takes first place. He started P2 on the grid. Filthy Ghost takes P2 after starting in P17. Really good drive from him. Viva takes P3 and rounds out the podium positions. SFR Madge in P4. SFR the Vicar, P5. SFR Energy Dan takes P6. Mr. Wiggles, our pole position driver, takes P7. Gandalf, the last of the remaining drivers still out on track, takes P8. VFX Instinct, I think he will take P9, I think in terms of the points. And then the rest of the field unable to finish this evening. As I said, it was a really tough race with all the changes in weather conditions, alongside safety cars as well. So I think those remaining 8 drivers can certainly be very proud of their achievement today. They did absolutely brilliantly. So I'd like to thank you all for joining me once again this evening. Next week, I believe, Sainty 93 will be back on comms, which I'm sure you're all very happy about. But I've been King Kong 1471. Thank you very much for joining me this evening, and good night. Thank you.